And welcome to Fat Boy FadeAway Sports episode 180 here. And we have a full panel again. We got Casey back. We got McGurk as always. And we're joined by my mother this time here. Mom, welcome back to the show.
Well, thank you for having me.
We didn't get the chance to do any Warriors post games this year, so they let us down. So this is our way of getting you back on. So we got to there with it. Case, how we doing out there?
Doing good, man. Doing very good. It's nice to have the family.
Yeah, we had Amanda last week on there with it. T, you got baseball again here in a little bit. We're it's almost all-star time, right? Are we almost there yet? Or are we still 3 weeks away?
No, this Friday we get it going. This weekend.
Good.
I'm excited to finally get into this.
I remember the All-Stars things was always like 8 weeks of practice, it felt like, and then you'd have 2 games. That's where like if you're lucky.
Well, let's hope for more than 2, but it's a real possibility.
That was always part of it. All right, so let's get into it here a little bit. Bob, you're going to join us for a little bit. Obviously, Willie Mays was the main reason we wanted you to have you on because he passed away early in the week. We had our guy C. Wood on our 7th inning show. It was cool to have his perspective from Birmingham. I thought it'd be fun to get your perspective as well because you grew up in San Rafael, Marin area, obviously very close access to get to Candlestick.
Right.
I know you've been out there many times, probably just like Tyler's dad out there many times, seen him play. How many times do you think that you did get a chance to see him play live? If you just had to guess.
Probably about 20. We went a lot.
That's a lot.
In fact, my brother, your Uncle Bob,
Yeah.
he has driver's license for 7 years. I'm 7 years younger than him. So he would say, hey, you guys want to go to the game? It's like, yeah. That was our opportunity, grab our blankets, our coats, and in the mid of summer, even though that sounds strange, that's how it was.
Yep.
And we'd go watch and we'd sit in the real cheap seats. And then about halfway through when everybody got cold and didn't want to watch, we'd make our way down and sit and watch the game, the rest of the game, 9 innings. It was a lot of fun.
I know Bob drove faster than most people, but how long do you think it took you guys to get there from where you live?
Probably half hour.
So that's a big difference. You'll have to go 30 minutes then where we had to go. All right. Now I'll let these guys. My other one for you real quick was, when did the name first come about, like when you heard of him? Because he'd been playing. Yeah, he was playing before.
Yeah, he was playing. Yeah, he was. Yeah, right. As soon as I knew that was the player, he was the San Francisco Giants.
He was yeah. What do you got, T?
From what my dad told me, like growing up, he was a big Giants fan, as like you. And he told me like Willie McCovey was kind of more beloved by the fan base. He wasn't the better player by all. Is this a true thing for like from your perspective, or is that not?
No, I think that's true, Tyler. I think that's absolutely true. And I think he was a very, very good athlete. I don't know if you know this, but when Cepeda came to play for the Giants, Willie was moved to the right field.
Yeah,
and
I did hear that.
That was a real controversy back then, but McCovey just handled it really well. And Mays just kind of told him, hey, you're the better player out there. And you're taller, you can get, those balls out there. And that's kind of how I looked at McCovey. He's just a real good team player. Yeah, well-renowned player, too.
Both from Alabama, as we found out as well.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Case?
Yeah, no, it's just pretty cool to see the celebration, especially ironically with the Negro League, the celebration. And it's kind of crazy how life goes full circle. And what do you think? I don't know if you caught any of the game, but what do you guys think of Reggie Jackson's speech that he had kind of towards just like everything that was going on in that era?
We talked a little bit about it on 7th inning with C. Wood because I thought that was one of the more fascinating things with it. My main point was I appreciated Reggie's realness and the fact that it wasn't like I said, I think I worded it as bringing realness to a celebrational night. And so that to me, he did it in still a classy way, in a way that didn't ruin the game, but a way that kind of made the reality of what that situation was for these players. It was not fun for them to go to that stadium back then. That stadium has a lot of hate, you would say, in it as well as good times, but those hate has to be recognized along the way. And so I thought he did a good job of speaking on that. Mon, did you hear that Reggie Jackson thing?
I did. I actually did. I thought it was very raw. He
Yeah.
spoke from heart, and he spoke from memories that still, haunt him today. Could you imagine having to go through that? I mean, that just broke my heart actually hearing that. But that's how it was back in the South, but also here as well.
Yeah, was it Mays had a hard time getting the house? That was part of it as well. He had the hard time with that. You remember that?
I gave you that book, 24?
I'm still on page 2. No, I'm just kidding. I've read it. Yes.
You got to the table of contents.
Yeah, it talks about all that, what he went through here in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Burning down his house, defecating in his home. I mean, it's just terrible, terrible.
Yeah, no, it is actually a good book, and me and Tyler we did like a review of the documentary they had with him. What was it last year too? We did that. So
yeah.
All right, go ahead, Case.
There was one I was watching. I don't know if you guys remember, but ESPN used to do a thing called Sports Century.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so this one was on Willie Mays, and it was when he was still alive. And they really did, I thought, a very poor and kind of heinous job, really talking about his past and getting really kind of personal about, his divorce and how in debt he was, and just, how, I don't know, it was almost like the black sheep, so to speak, of, not talking very kindly about him. And I was just surprised when they were talking about it, that just how we do documentaries differently. As it was going on the bottom, it was showing stats of players, and it was just it didn't feel like a true celebration of Willie Mays. And it was just a different perspective of how he was coddled when he was younger, and they didn't really let him, no one was letting him see his personality. And then once he was able to get a few years in, then that's when he really got the taste of what the San Francisco or Brooklyn Giants were like.
Well, you had to remember they had to it was a different era. They had to protect. They were trying to protect him, I think, some in those areas, right, as well with some of that because how young he was, and the manager that was. I know that was part of that documentary with him was trying to. Because he wasn't known for getting in trouble, but they wanted just to keep him from other people getting him in trouble. Was kind of more that I got from, or what do you call them, lag-ons that try to kind of manipulate you at that age or something.
Or were they trying to toughen his image? Is that what you're saying? To make it less vulnerable in that documentary? You think?
No, or I think the one in Casey. I think the one you're talking about, right? Sports Century. I think it just brought more of his lower moments to the air. But back then, that documentary too was probably 25 years ago, right?
I only recall seeing only one black person in that. I think the rest of them were all white columnists. I think Bob Costas was the only one that really spoke in a high regard of him.
I'll have to
Everything else
rewatch
was
it
just
again.
a little tarnished. I don't know.
I'll have to rewatch it. That'd be kind of surprising if it took a negative twist on it.
I just remember the coach asked him. He said, "Hey, he was hitting 474, I believe, in Double-A ball, and Triple-A, Double-A. I'm not sure which one." And he said, "I want to pull you up." And Willie said, "I don't think I'm ready for that type of pitching." He goes, "Well, can you hit 270?" And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, then you're going to be my center fielder." So,
yeah, I think the thing with Willie Mays is when I look at it too, I think he was not coddled, but out of that era, I think the coaches and the Giants staff were very aware of his talent and what he brought. So I think they protected him a lot more than I think some of the other black players that were coming up during that time because of that. And that's the feeling I got watching the one I watched from HBO. Tyler, do you have any thoughts on that?
No, that's exactly what I got from it as well. They knew he was an all-world talent from him being a young kid to being in the majors, and he got off to a slow start in the majors. So there was this bet, why is he up here? Does he belong? And the Giants just were we're playing you in center field. Well, I know you'll figure this out. And I think the same thing happens today with uber talented players. You get a longer lease. Obviously, when Mike Trout first got called up, he got sent back down. He got off to a slow start. He came back up, and then he was great. But there's guys who get longer leases due to talent. I think that was just what happened with Willie.
what would he start? 1 for 24 his career, and then one Rookie of the Year from that point on. So, all right, I'm gonna go through some of my a couple more minutes. This is what I wrote down as my notes. You guys can kind of play off some of these. These are just somebody that never saw him play, but just stories. These are the images that come to my mind when I see Willie Mays, or moments that came. So, the first Bay Area superstar, I believe he was, based on when they came out. I don't think the Warriors were established enough out here. Maybe Wilt Chamberlain. I don't know. I feel like he's the guy that the first one I hear about the most is that. The catch, obviously, is right up there. That's the thing you hear the most with as well. On deck for Bobby Thompson's home run. That's something that I think about with Willie Mays. Willie Mays, whenever he tells a story, you're almost like, I think he wanted him to walk, and then he gets there. I think he wanted Bobby. So I got that. There's that image of him in San Francisco on the AstroTurf ones where him and Bobby Thompson collide. He makes the catch out there at center field. That one, I believe, was on Saturday. The Saturday was the main show on Saturday that day, like what do you call it, the MLB game of the week. So that was kind of one that stood out to me. When he slid into second base, you see always on the old videos, those guys always slid different anyways. But when he put his left leg out like this, you don't see many people slide the way he did into second. That image stands out to me. Of course, the basket catch, that's always going to stand out of his things as well. And then for me, one you could just play to his confidence. And I remember kind of Grandpa, because he would watch this stuff too, is that 62 World Series they lose in Game 7 to the Yankees. Runner on first base, 2 outs. He hits it down the right field line, and the guy has to go to third. He says if he was the runner from first, he would have scored to tie the game up. Just that little stuff. So he's like, I would have just ran through the stops at third base. Like, I'd like to get the last out on Game 7. But that's kind of where his mentality was. So that always stood out to me, that little last quote. And then my last thing is the voice. I just liked his the little kind of high pitch he'd get when he'd get excited explaining things. So those are some of my notes with him. Any of those stand out? Oh, and the hat running off. That was always a big one too.
That was my thing. And I don't know if you guys know the backstory about that hat flipping off. He actually would tell them to make the hat a little bigger so he could have that happen. That was like his little, believe it or not, that's what he said. So now that makes sense. Always make it a little bigger so the fans can see the hat flying off. So that was.
You gotta get some FaceTime. You gotta get some airtime on that. Yeah, that's funny. Case, any of those?
Yeah, I was gonna say about the one you're talking about, the ball that was hitting, the guy was on first, and he said when they asked him about that, said, would you have scored? He said, I would have scored, showered, and been soaked. And so that was always pretty funny to me. But the catch is definitely one of the biggest ones that I remember, just from them showing it over and over. And a lot of people forget there's the men on first and second. So the throw back in from about, almost 500 feet just was ridiculous. I mean, the arm he had, I think, just being a 5-tool player was just incredible.
Let's see if I can get it on. Let's see if it works. Here we go.
There's a long drive, way back in center field, way back, it is.
There goes that hat.
There's the hat.
What must have been an optical illusion to a lot of people.
Man, talk about a tough out. Tough out. Yeah. That's a ball. That's a ball.
That was at the old polo fields. That's huge.
Oh,
like
yeah.
4,680. It's a bomb.
I always say this too about Willie. Vince Scully, who I think, if he says he's the best player he's ever, what I mean? I feel like that even adds a little to your Vince Scully watched a lot of baseball. He was I think if you see stuff from that, I think Tyler, like your guys' generation, you guys were kind of kids as Willie Mays was kind of in that prime, like kind of entering the end of his prime a little bit, probably is where you guys were kind of probably really coming on to him. But the fact that he played 24 years, he hung on and became a legendary, and then he came back to play the A's in the World Series with the Mets.
That's right. Yeah.
So that was he gets that kind of barrier recognition there as well when he came back. So just one of the Mount Rushmore players in baseball. Like that's really that's really basically who we lost here with it.
Question for you guys. Do you think that his number should be retired for all time? Like they did for do you think like his
Jackie?
number? Yeah, Jackie Robinson. What do you guys think? Does he sit on that pedestal?
I think you could do something like that. I think Jackie Robinson's has played such a different significant role in there. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
then do you retire Babe Ruth number? I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? Where do you
Yeah.
do you retire number 3 and all this? I don't know. That's kind of where you would start to. Do you retire Barry Bonds? No, but do you get like? I think.
Yeah, I don't know. That one may be controversial.
I would probably lean towards no, but I would have no problem with them doing it. I guess that's kind of the way I would.
I agree with what Darren just said wholeheartedly.
So you think because Jackie Robinson, because of the time and all of that, that's why his number is
well, just the
not
racial
because of
significance that he broke a barrier that really brought in a whole new era. Most people consider the 50s like the golden era of baseball, and that makes sense when you have 2 leagues that finally mesh together and you get everything. That's kind of what you would expect. So, yeah, I think that was probably the difference there. It didn't, but like what we talked about, Mays was like number 10. He wasn't like number way behind on this list of like guys that were coming up at that time. So
no, definitely. Mm-hmm.
I don't. And Jackie Robinson, was he technically the first? Wasn't there some guy?
Yeah, he was the first.
Yeah, he was the first.
The first. Yes.
Yeah, that's right. And I think it's the next day or 2 days later, somebody else was signed. That's the guy that you kind of always forget was the second guy that came on for. Well, any last final thoughts, Mother? Thanks for taking some time out of your morning to talk a little Willie Mays.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. And it was a sad day. I got all my siblings calling and telling me, we just reminisced about great times going to Candlestick and watching, legend that we didn't know at the time. But and then seeing that team, the 65, 68 teams with those incredible players now looking back. Look at Juan Marichal, Gaylord Perry. I mean, you're like, wow, how could they not have won a World Series? But anyway.
They didn't allow 6 teams in the playoffs back then.
A lot of playoffs with the Dodgers, by the way. Yes. But thank you for having me on, and you guys have a great podcast.
All right. How long a run are we going?
Have a good run.
Thank you. Probably about 12 miles today. Not too
only
long.
12. So
only 12. Not a little shorter today.
Only if you lazy bums are out there, get your work together. That's the motivation for the day. All right, Bob. Have a good rest of the day. Love you. All right. See ya. That was fun having Bob on. Tyler, you got a little bit of time here before you got to go, but that was good. That Willie Mays, it was good to get her perspective. I think your dad probably feels similar in that regard, right? Just kind of. Your dad probably consider him you think the first Bay Area legend as well, or do you think he had somebody else in mind?
I would think so. I mean, I
guess there's a Niner named Brody.
Yeah, but I don't even think he was before Willie Mays. Like, so it has to be Willie. He just talks so glowingly about Willie as a baseball player. Like that, he normally doesn't gush over guys. Like he's normally like, yeah, they did this good, but they also did this wrong. And he doesn't really have a negative thing to say about him. So I always was like, this guy must have been the real deal.
Yeah. For him to really appreciate that kind of makes sense.
I think it made his personality too. Like remember, the famous brawl when the guys I forget the name, was Marichal that was swinging the bats.
Oh yeah.
And he swung at the catcher.
Yeah, I heard 2 guys out there, and then Willie took into the Dodgers dugout and calmed everything down, and just said a lot about his personality, and playing stickball on the streets and buying kids ice cream after, and just being like. Could you imagine playing with I don't know, our idols in the street and then eating ice cream with them? It's like seeing Steph Curry before the game shoot hoops with us at the park and then buying us food and then hanging out. It's just unfathomable.
I mean, Steph Curry was at Folsom last week, played basketball at Kent Bazemore at some weird little airport club gym. I was like, what the hell is going on? Why couldn't he show up to
cool.
Don't go to the private. No, I did see that. You're right. He was out there, so he's a man of the people. I always think hitting a bottle cap with a broomstick would be pretty tough. It seems like
a movement on that thing.
All right, let's keep it moving. Everybody, we'll get Tyler on for a few. All right, Clay, 3-year deal. Look, guys, we're not gonna go forever. It just sounds like I wrote down, underlined. It seems like it's the end. It just feels that way. Maybe it's too early for me to really feel it, but the momentum, not getting the vibes. What do you, Tyler? Do you feel like he's gone?
No, I don't know if he's gone. I feel the same way as you. This part of the contract negotiation has been it's at the most negative it's been. Like people are reporting if the Warriors even give him a competitive offer, he might still leave. So like I just think it's all part of the contract negotiation. I think things go in waves, but right now it is not looking good.
Unfollowing on Instagram, a big no. We don't like that. Casey, is he gone?
I don't
Clay
want
not
to
lay
say.
by the bay anymore. Is Clay not lay by the bay? What do you
wanna
say?
say-
You want to go lay by the bay? I just may.
I don't know, man. My heart wants to say he'll stay, but just it wouldn't seem like the same without those three, Clay, Dre, and Steph. But Clay, I mean, he's still a good player. I mean, he's averaging 19, 18. I mean, Oklahoma City's got a ton of cap room, so I mean, there's a place he could go. I mean,
That'd be interesting.
so
Go from Bay
it
Area
would
to Oklahoma.
it would suck, but I mean, but I think he's gone. Pains me to say that, but I think
JJ
he's
Redick
gone.
to the Lakers. Is
No,
that what he's doing?
could this be good for Clay's legacy in Golden State if he leaves? Because it seemed like it's been wearing down. Like seem to have this they're not afraid to take shots at Clay as in the Warriors fan base, like from what I've seen.
Well, we have a lot of younger fans too that are now jumping
No,
on.
I know, but
I feel like he
still a thing.
I think Clay this year was a weird one. Like he's still not recognizing where he's at. I think he's still like sometimes he'll shoot like 20 times. He'll go like 4. I think that's the Warriors just don't have. Yeah, well, he's not shooting anymore.
And they don't have another option.
Yeah.
They don't have a good second option. That's the big issue.
That's why I think they're hoping Kuminga takes that jump. He kind of did last year, but it's just not. I don't know. It sucks.
Casey, favorite draft first day comes to mind. Draft day memory could be Warriors or really just first thing. Draft day memory. What comes to mind first? What's the first kind of thought?
The first one of overall, or?
Image thought. What jumps out to you? And the first thing you kind of think of when somebody says NBA draft, what's the first thing you think of?
I would say the suits. Whatever they're coming out.
Bad ones.
Yeah,
Bad
good ones, bad ones. The Clay. Just the enjoyment and the excitement. That is one of my favorite drafts because usually this is one of the rare years I really don't know a lot of the players that are coming in, which sucks. I mean, I know, but it's not the top talent, the top 5.
Big Zach's coming in. You gotta get Big Zach. Big Zach. For me, it's always Antoine and Vince, that 1998 handshake. That's always a big image for me. I always kind of remember that one being a big one. Penny Hardaway and the Weber trade. Not that I had necessarily watched it, but I remember being at Round Table Pizza and my dad and Paul getting in a little debate about it. That was always a fun little thing. It was a great little. He's like, well, what would they trade Chris Webber? He's an idiot. Remember, Uncle Paul. That's right. You can hear him talking like that. My dad, like, we need him. He's a good player. So that's always an image. And then, so those are the first ones. And then if I was going offbeat, it would be the Ray Allen Marbury, like that little like draft day moment. That's another one that kind of jumps out to me. Tyler, you have one kind of that.
Mine, real quick. I think all three of us were at Foot Locker, and they were like playing it on the radio over instead of music, and Rasheed Wallace getting drafted. I don't know why I remember it. It's not. It was this moment where I was with you guys, and you're like, "Oh, Rasheed's really good." I was like, "I don't even know who the guy is." But
he's got great hair.
Good gray spot.
That's funny. That's what I mean about the draft. There's like I remember Matt Lutzell. He got bootlegged all the stuff, like all the channels. I remember all that. And like the NBA TV, how they like show all the drafts leading up to it. So I always was fascinated with like watching the drafts through the years and like all that stuff, and it like kind of leads up and who took what they look like, all that good stuff. So all right, so that Brian's not with us, so we don't need to get to Ayuk is very much here as well. Casey, I just have one quick wrestling question before we get to winners and losers. Is the bloodline, is there a new bloodline? Is it going to be bloodline, old bloodline versus new bloodline? Is that what they're going to go story-wise? Is that what they're trying to do here?
That's what I feel like they're trying to lean into. I feel like Solo's the new Roman are trying to be, and Paul Heyman always makes it so much better, but he's just a living legend.
Could Paul Heyman be leaving the bloodline and going with CM Punk?
Oh, I don't know. CM Punk is not alive after what Drew McIntyre did to him last week. So, I'm not. It's to be determined. But yeah, no. I mean, I think not having. It's weird how The Rock and Roman just disappeared, and I don't know. Maybe they're part of the Cody crybabies now. They're just whining and complaining that he's the champ now, which is, I will say, as much as people say like, oh, Roman just was too long, but now it's like once they're gone, you're like, I kind of missed the guy. He made it more entertaining, So
No.
I think those guys, I think the reality is they just need a break in real life.
yeah.
Like,
The-
you know what I mean? They just need that's probably what it comes down to. Is like, how do we change the story when we give Roman 4 months off? How does that happen where we give him 4 months off, a half a year, take a sabbatical, and then you come back? Well, we'll go from there. And that was one of my notes of Brian that we'll see is, will he be the champ this time next year? I don't know. It will be interesting if they let him hang on to the belt for a whole
It
year.
feels like they're just bringing in people from like the whole family. Like it feels like there's like a new person like every few weeks. It's just like,
Yeah.
who the hell is this guy? It's like, oh, he's from Japan wrestling. He's from this. I'm like, I've never even heard of these guys. It's like, unless you're like a huge follower, I guess. But like,
It's
I'm not
Rikishi's
over it.
nephew,
Yeah.
Was it Yoko Uno? Is that the guy that
Yokozuna.
is that the guy that did the little rubbing of the butt cheek
Yokozuna.
into the face, or is that the other guy?
No, that's Rikishi.
That was Rikishi. Well, if you had to take that move,
Pink
that
face.
can't be one of the best moves to have to take. So I got that for us. All right. The time's had to go here. A few winners, losers of the week. Tyler, let's go. What do you go? Losers first, maybe? Let's go
Yeah,
losers
sure.
first.
My losers are the Giants. They get big platform and they just get swept by the Cardinals. And
You get Wade
now
Jr.
they're-
back next week. That should be exciting.
That'll be a nice addition. I wish he was playing this weekend or last weekend. That's it. I don't. They're
Did
so
you hear
up
that
and
they
down.
tried to get him one at bat at that Wrigley? Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
It's kind of interesting. All right, you got another loser there, or just the Giants?
No, just the
that covers you.
yeah.
Casey, you got a
Ruined
loser.
my week.
Yeah, I got a couple. I'm gonna go with the Washington Nationals losing on a pitch clock last night to the Rockies with the bases loaded. That is a tough pill to swallow. Anytime you walk in a run, but just due to not throwing the pitch is not a good thing. And then the other one is, man, what the hell's happening to these Florida Panthers? They cannot. McJesus is taking over.
Jesus.
The coach for Florida, I thought was going to have a heart attack after they reversed the offsides call. I was just like, Paul
Is that Game
Maurice.
7 tonight, by the way? Monday.
Yeah.
Game 7.
Sunday at like 3.
Yeah.
Today's
good.
Sunday.
Today is Sunday. He said.
They should have done it today at 3.
Oh, I thought you said today at Sunday at 3. I was like, getting lost.
Yeah, those are good losers. In case my losers, like I said, we kind of talked about it. NBA draft feels just a little at it up front. You usually like to have a few more stars kind of going into it, so it feels a little there. And then you have like the teams at the top, like the Hawks, #1 pick. Yeah, and then we talked about a little bit like this. Just not a good NBA Finals overall. Last week we were coming on this. It was just not a good one there. And then Roy McIlroy putting at the end. That was not. We didn't get into that.
Out there.
That was the last Sunday. That was last Sunday, so we didn't get a chance on Father's Day to really talk about it. But that was when you miss that first putt from 3 feet, that next one gets a little farther. It's like, oh, that's not 3 feet, and that break is like he gave it just a little much of a tap, a little too much of a tap. Didn't follow through with it, but
felt like he was thinking Happy Gilmore. He's like, "You too good for your home. You're too good for your home."
I mean,
like, send it in.
Guys, that's where golf to me would just be such a sickening sport. Like if you're like rolling back. In case you say it better than that.
That's the best video game. Roy McIlroy.
That was great. When Derek was playing, when he had cancer there and they play that, he would play that game in the hospital there. That's that they would roll back. So it's fine.
Like, man, Derek loves golf. Like every time I come on, it'd be like Roy McIlroy. Does Derek even know who Roy McIlroy?
And he couldn't hit, so he'd have to do extra swings, and that's what Nick the announcer even has to say it more. That's what. But yeah, you have to keep saying it. All right, those are my losers of the week. All right, Tyler, what do you got for a winner of the week?
I got 2 winners. First, the whole Rick Wood thing was just a great thing for baseball. I thought that was Fox did it perfectly. Barry Bonds as an analyst, a winner. Man, I wish he did more. I wish they had him on more. And
Promote
then,
him more. Come on, people are over it.
exactly. Just have Barry Bonds around. He's like, he knows more baseball than than anybody, really.
Or
Like,
him
at
and
least
Griffey.
hitting.
Or I was thinking about that real quick too. I don't want to forget this point. I forgot to write down. Is Griffey Bonds? Would that be like the equivalent of our us for Mays? Like, you know what I mean? Like when we get to that, I was just thinking, would those be the guys that were like?
I would think so. Those are the two guys. I mean, at least for me,
Maybe Maddox, I guess.
Science, he'd be like the But anyway, now my other winner, you bring up Maddox, Bailey Ober against your Oakland A's. A complete game, 10 strikeouts, under 90 pitches, just a way back game. First time since 99 someone had 10 strikeouts and a complete game and under 90 pitches.
The A's were efficient that night. They helped out.
I didn't realize how big that guy was. I was like, man, he's really tall.
Then they won. They ended up winning yesterday, but that's a good.
He did all the fans a favor. Sent them home.
He did all the fans a favor. I actually had talked about going to that game too, so good thing maybe I didn't go to that game. You get there you think it's the third inning, it's like the fifth. You're like, what's going on? You're like, what's going on? Casey, what do you got for winner?
I got Brianna Stewart, first woman in WNBA history to go over 20 points, 5 assists, and 5 blocks in the first half, which is incredible. I mean, I don't care.
What team does she play for?
The Liberty.
The Liberty, yeah. So it was a pretty impressive output. She had finished with 31 points, but yeah, just 24 points, 5 assists, and 5 blocks and a half is pretty staggering.
I have for WNBA, I had the Fever, right? I feel like our pod, ever since that, little motivated. They get there on a 4-game winner, so we take credit for that. Nice job, boys. And then we get motivating them. So we'll take that. I got there with it. Oh, wait, this was to your Kaminga point earlier. This is the time of the year. The winners. You're gonna get these NBA workout videos. Like right, like the Kaminga one, these like black and white footage, then it's like a 6'2" guy trying to block a shot. Like I don't know, like I'm just like, what are we doing? And then like they're gonna see all these runs at UCLA, and it's like John Wall should be playing in the NBA. Like they're gonna start hearing seeing things again. So this is always a fun time for NBA workout videos. Ben Simmons, he never looks better. You'll see like those kind of things. And then Bill Geeson, 99 years old. He threw out that first pitch. He looked good for 99 when they interviewed him too. I don't know if you guys saw the interview with him. He's the oldest. Let's put it this way: when you're Willie Mays' mentor, and you have 90, that's a pretty cool thing. Grew up across the street from Martin Luther King, still preaching at 99. My goodness, that is. I can't get to that one, boys. If I live that long, my goodness, that's impressive. Bill Geeson, you definitely take home winner of the week for that.
I'll still be doing a lot of Fat Boy Fadeaway podcasts of that.
I will. Casey, this is one of my favorite moments in A's history. With it, that's like we'll be on episodes like 5,000 by that point.
The G spot. Come on,
this one of my favorite.
Show.
Hit the target. Hit the target. Here we go with it.
The Izzy, the ninth Izzy.
It's closing out the AL West 2000.
Curveball, it's over for the
That's Salta
11th
Lamakia.
time. And the first time since '92, the Oakland A's are champions of the American League West.
Not a very good record.
Bellhorn.
It's a lot better than nowadays.
Sure.
Look at that crowd. Don't tell me people didn't show up back then. Come on.
Whoever knew the 2000 AL West would resemble the attendance now. 2000.
I mean, that's a season this year. Right, Eric Chavez, our guy Ramon, Matthew Stairs,
Mark Mulder,
Eric Burns. The good old days. Had to get it up on.
That's when the Coliseum was alive. Those were the best days, man. Even when I used to
not running outside the pipes.
Well, they probably just did a better job facilitating. Oh man, those were the best. That's when the Coliseum was rocking, man. Just some of the best times at the Coliseum.
That year was such a year. Was it the year before they went all in and they got like Kevin Apier, and that's when they got Isringhausen in that trade. Like Apier was like a big deal at that point. Randy Velarde, those were like the guys in '99. They fall a little short, and then they come back in 2000 and they squeak it out with a 91-70. I remember being at Nana's house, Nana Pop's house, in her room in the little TV there. You guys remember watching that in her room there on the 7. But I remember Uncle Steve with my dad coming in randomly. I just remember Uncle Steve being there. And he was like, "Oh, that's a cool moment." I just remember him like saying that in the slow. So it's like Tyler. I used to remember the Rasheed Wallace thing, right?
Yeah.
Kind of random things here or there with it. So, all right, guys, that was a good show. Episode 180. T, I know you got Little League Baseball here. Good luck with that.
Thank you.
Get ready for All Stars. Casey, let's keep it rolling. Let's keep doing it every Sunday, guys. Take it easy.
See you guys.
Peace.
See you guys.